Christmas! The Princess Cruiser is about to arrive. It's been a dream of mine trying to make a Christmas wrapping video featuring the TV channels of my country for like a decade now, and now it's finally come true. Initially it was going to be an epic like Fallen Star, talking about how Christmas is and where people take a break from the annual despair fest of this world and settle down to watch some long Christmassy movies the leading commercial channel puts on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. But since one of the two commercial channels started a global strike on about 1 billion YouTube channels housing all content, I slashed it down to RTP's two channels instead. RTP is our BBC, although it isn't worthy of the title. A broadcaster so awful it replaces all mentions of the BBC in the script of the Portuguese dub of horrible histories. Anyway, the earliest item I was able to find was from 1984, animated by Feliz Natal, who used to do 1 billion intros for Portuguese television programs in the 1980s. The Christmas item that year had our then recent Christmas carol, To All a Merry Christmas, that can still be heard in a slightly remixed version at the end of our Christmas telethon. There was also a New Year's one, featuring the then omnipotent Petersburger Schlittenfahrt. You might have noticed a lack of logo from either channel, who, for the record, these were the logos used at the time, because the item was secondary than God knows who. In-vision announcers was still the norm in those days. Even in 1986, when RTP made its first CGI items, even though they were made in the Netherlands, probably by the same guys who did the same for LWT a few years earlier, the items were still as austere as a country that experienced the worst recession. This time the Christmas item for E6 was done on the cheap using one of the 10,000 Cascom Select Effects templates they had on offer. For the record, this was recorded around close down, back in the days when TV went to bed insanely early. Time to reflect about life. For Christmas 1989, the item consisted of a CGI finger painting, and what an improvement it was, considering that RTP had bought a new computer in 1987. Ushering in the new year and the new decade, if that counts, were 4 candles that became bars of solid ungold. 1990 was a year of change for both RTP channels, as the likely arrival of commercial competition, achieved in October 1992, forced RTP 1 and 2 to officially become channels in their names. But then again, the age of corporatized Christmas items was still put into place. For 1990, I only have RTP2s.
Canal 2.
1991 brought the 4th ornaments for Channel 1 in the Christmas period, accompanied at the very end by a reflection of Santa looking at you as if you're automatically part of the naughty list. The second channel brought carols being played over Chinese cheap electronics over the usual chalk drawings the channel had at the time. For the new year, just another straightforward concept. RTP's second channel, in anticipation of the arrival of commercial competitors, was renamed TV2 in 1992, but that year the Christmas item was homogeneous for both, as that year's Christmas item consisted of the combination of the C1 armillary sphere and TV2's striped pet numeral. This arrangement of ornaments to me suddenly starts looking more like a deformed pineapple. The Christmas Island for 1993 was a downright psychotic tour of a bunch of ornaments, this time in live action. And the New Year's one? We'll take a look. A couple of rebrands happened in the intervening years on the first channel, so let's just skip straight to 1995, and I assume is the antepenultimate of the corporate Christmas Islands, featuring these basic ornaments. However, the main island was the same, with no change to soundtrack and featuring a JPEG artifact of the baubles as a sign of dealing the inevitable. This brings us to the 22nd of April 1996, when RTP2 rebranded. For some reason, the second channel did that first, 1 week ahead of RTP1 on April 29th. Both channels received flashier, weird-ass looks that seem to have preceded Channel 5's by less than a year. Unfortunately, both Christmases of the look consisted of corporation-wide efforts because rebranding the two channels was too expensive and a strain to the budget. So, 1996, Children Were the Stars, with the two channels featuring Christmas Islands consisting of children drawing. Kids are the future of the homeland. So, does this mean that the future are these kids again? Oh, come on, we lost. In 1997, this time, the islands were CGI driven again, and it feels more like 1989. In October 1998, both RTP channels received the only Novacom design look in Portuguese television history, devised by Thomas Sable. Their interest in Novacom was keen as early as 1995, when they were inspired by their work for the big 1994 redesign of Channel 5 Singapore, for use in their 38th anniversary week logo in Ireland, but failed miserably. Of the two channels' Christmas looks, I only found the 1998 Christmas Island, which I suspect was also used in 1999. Only RTP1 rebranded in 2000 because the second was trying to become a news channel, but it failed. It was rebranded twice, the first under the aegis of BBC Broadcast, now RandomMe Media. The second was a minor refresh that lasted about 5 months, and perhaps perversively premiered a week before 9/11 happened, in line with changes to RTP's schedule that lasted a few months. We had the Christmas Islands from that look, adding the usual Christmas sparkle. In 2002, specifically on the 29th of January, about 3.5 weeks before I turned 4, both channels rebranded, and those were bloody good logos. Shame the only surviving Christmas Island from that year turns out to be one of the two RTP1 had. If memory serves, both islands had logos trapped inside snow globes, one for each channel. Who'd thunk it? RTP1 rebranded in 2003 because who cares? But then again, the look didn't adapt itself for Christmas. Instead, every RTP channel got these generic seasonal cards instead, which means to, yet again, delay the inevitable. The first half of 2004 saw the phased rebrand of the corporation. First RTP2 on the 5th of January, then all the remaining channels but the news channel on March 31st, then the news channel RTP and former NTV on May 31st. I was there on the night of the RTP1 rebrand. The island was quite okay, but at Christmas, don't know why, it gave me the goosebumps. God knows what happened to me. RTP2's rebrand was even more ambitious, not to mention promiscuous, to the extent that they made it half as autonomous as they wanted it to be. During the 3 years of the two, its islands were numerous. Hell, I even remember an island with logos made in scribbles, and at the end only a small part of those located in the column remained. That island has lost media, however. But do you know what isn't? The Christmas Island, which I think was used every year until the man died. 2005 and 2006, bollocks to those years. The formula is basically the same as 2004, except 2006's was a bit more friendly to me. Both channels rebranded again in 2007, RTP1 on January 7th and RTP2 back to its conventional name on March 19th. RTP1's look wasn't good either, and for Christmas it had an artificial Christmas tree in the layer of red just to counterbalance the look. RTP2's rebrand was like this. You got a minimalistic look consisting mainly of these black, white, and orange and brown bars and the RTP2 logo in the center. There was even a Christmas item featuring the soundtrack of the piano item which you're looking at right now, but alas no recordings of it existed I'm aware of. In 2008, RTP1 sought to channel BBC Two and gave them an idea for an upcoming new look. The item was kind of inspired on what BBC Two was running at the time, then in its second year in a row, because why not, except the item was just downplayed to feature Santa, nothing else. RTP2's item consisted of holly, but then again the item was kind of annoying and the complete item hasn't been found yet. In 2009, the Christmas item of the previous year gave RTP ideas for the first channel's rebrand. Instead of a cheap Portuguese adaptation of BBC Two's Wonders of the World, the RTP logo's flaws gave a rather Sim City-esque stage, where every floor had something going on. For Christmas, the setting was replaced by a giant Christmas tree being unfurled in a department store. Or is it a supermarket? Meanwhile, over on RTP2, this. Get used to it because it's going to break records. Record of stupidity. In 2010, both channels were Scrooged. RTP1 was the same as last year, but simply changing the backdrop. RTP2... Yeah, I get your pain. Besides, these items were actually unveiled a week after RTP1 and dropped a week after RTP1, so you know what I mean. 2011 saw RTP1 rebranding to what was possibly the most empty look in its history, like 2004 but with less effort. So lackey it was, that in late October it was rejigged to feature some extra lines representing RTP stripes. For Christmas, asses. Had to feature a crappy CGI snowman. RTP will never learn. And RTP2, yikes, and that year there were even more Scrooge as the item was unveiled a few days ahead of Christmas instead of the 1st of December, the conventional standard in this day and age. But that depends on who you ask. 2012, double Scrooge. RTP1 and RTP2 kept the exact same idents, with the difference being that RTP2's ident was seen in widescreen for the first time. And this pissed me off because RTP1 rejigged their idents several times in June, adding images to the stripes to the first half of the ident. Was it really that expensive to make a new one for Christmas? Was it a sign of delaying the inevitable? 2013 saw, on 14th of January, a new look for RTP1 and a conversion to widescreen for the same channel, with the items becoming picture postcards. The way to Christmas item was obvious. RTP2, yeah, why bother? Besides, the channel saved from eventual doom and had a rebrand on the cards earlier that year. Sadly, that look never came to be, unfortunately. In 2014, specifically in September, RTP1 crapified the soundtrack of the idents and did the same over the Christmas season. Now my ears bleed. Less bleeding was RTP2's rebrand in March of that year, but the Christmas ident compensated a little. RTP1 kept that crappy soundtrack in 2015, and the ident saw many changes because RTP's logo gave a nip tuck to the font and the shades of blue in the logo. RTP2 rebranded, but the Christmas sign was lacking any ideas. This is because the two channels haven't even rebranded under the uniform branding yet. RTP1 did such on March 7th, 2016, inviting one artist a year. Unfortunately, the concept was replaced by a generic one for Christmas. RTP2 rebranded in May. Sadly, the items consisted of footage from imports, accompanied by the most confusing identity of any channel in the history of mankind, claiming that your channel is educated and adult. The Christmas silence that year? When you hire an idiosyncratic woman to run a TV channel from top to toe, including the branding, these are the results. RTP1 rebranded worse on 6th of January 2017. What was a frivolous rebrand because one of our former presidents died hours afterwards, in a failed attempt to try and reconcile archive footage with an acid trip. Thankfully, the 1st of December came, and we were spared from that at Christmas and got the same as last year with the small change at the end, lacking RTP's corporate jingle. RTP1 tried to imitate the regular islands. Bloody hell. 2018 saw another rebrand for RTP1, but for Christmas they took it away, this time deviating from the look they used for the past 2 years. Quite charming, really. RTP2 was already Scrooged. This time the call for Scrooge to intervene was the 50th anniversary of the channel. Coincidentally, it launched on Christmas Day, so why not? Another new look came in November 2019, and basically it's a diverse, poorly executed version of Oneness. The one thing that bothers about these items is that the RTP jingle is lonely and incomplete. The way to Christmasize it was obvious, concentrating on kids. RTP2's items were a lack of effort. 2020 saw RTP1 adapting the items for the Age of Craventhorn, Christmas included. RTP2 did have a promo featuring a nativity scene falling under the norms of distance, according to what the government says, but I don't want to show you any footage because I don't want to run into copyright issues. Also, I have a zero tolerance policy regarding a number of concepts from this day and age. Thumbs up if you're watching this after the chaos subsumes and the world is free again. 2021, and RTP1 is doing essentially the same. I will RTP1 rebrand or the corporation as a whole because I'm getting sick and tired of this logo. RTP2, they don't have clear and concise Christmas silence since they did a few rebrands. In April last year, when the world was cut from its freedom already, they rebranded the channel, but not from top to toe, with a bunch of damn good creative items. And then, in September, a second set of items appeared, in tandem with the previous ones. And then they say it's impossible to continue making items for Christmas? Why do we have a TV channel that suddenly hates Christmas? Oh well. Anyway, Merry Christmas and go watch RTP Close-Ons from 1993.
E pronto, são então estas as nossas sugestões para este seu início de fim de semana, que esperamos que o passe da melhor maneira. Com a TV2, boa noite, até mais logo.
As Weeble say, Christmas so commercialized, it make me sick. Good wishes to all, and to all a good night.